Imagine standing at your wife's funeral. The woman you spent 22 years building a life with, thinking the worst pain you could ever feel was already tearing through your chest only for a total stranger to walk up, slip a USB drive into your palm, whisper, "She wanted you to have this," and then disappear before you can ask a single question. Because that's exactly what happened to me, and my name is Michael Turner. A 54-year-old man who thought he knew everything about the woman he married. The woman who made my world warmer, softer, kinder until the day I buried her and learned that grief wasn't the most shocking part of losing her, not even close. And I can tell you right now that what I found on that USB didn't just change my understanding of her life. It changed everything about mine too. But before I take you into that moment, the moment my hands shook so violently, I couldn't even plug the drive, and I need you to understand who my wife, Lavra, really was, because without that, none of this will hit the way it should. Lavra wasn't just a good woman. She was the type of woman people write songs about, gentle, thoughtful, the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday and listened with her whole heart. We married young, built a small house in Oregon, raised a daughter named Emma, and though life wasn't perfect, no marriage is, we were solid, strong, comfortable in that quiet, ordinary way that makes you believe nothing could ever rip you apart. But 6 months ago, everything changed. Lavra started coughing, then losing weight, then losing energy, and 3 months after the first doctor visit, she was gone stage 4 lung cancer, the kind that hides until it's too late. She wasn't a smoker, she wasn't reckless. She was just unlucky, and I thought that was the worst chapter of my life. I had no idea the real shock was waiting for me in a small silver USB the size of my thumb. Her funeral was held on a cloudy Sunday morning, the kind of gray that feels heavy on purpose, and I was standing near her casket, numb, accepting hugs and sorry for your losses that barely reached my ears when a man I had never seen before walked toward me mid-40s. Dark coat, no expression, the type of face you forget unless something strange happens. And something strange did. He pressed the USB into my hand so discreetly that no one else noticed and whispered, "She wanted you to have this, but not until now," and before I could ask, "Who are you?" He slipped into the crowd and vanished like a ghost. I looked around, confused, but he was gone. At first, I thought maybe he worked with her. Laura had been a pediatric nurse for years, but I knew all of her coworkers, and no one at the funeral looked anything like this guy. The USB burned in my pocket the entire service like a secret begging to be opened, but I waited until that night after my daughter fell asleep. I sat at my desk, hands trembling, plugged it into my laptop, and waited for whatever truth my wife had somehow hidden from me. It contained one single video file. Just one. Titled, "For Michael, only when I'm gone." My breath caught as I clicked it, and then she appeared on the screen. Laura, my wife, but not the version I lost. This was a recording from at least a year earlier, maybe more. She looked healthy, calm, her hair full, her eyes bright, and she sat on a bench in what looked like a park. When she spoke, her voice cracked just enough for me to hear the weight behind every word. "Michael," she began, "if you're watching this, it means I'm no longer there to tell you these things face to face. And I'm so sorry, but I promise I didn't keep this from you to hurt you. I kept it from you to protect you." My chest tightened. Protect me from what? She swallowed hard, staring directly into the camera like she was looking through time. "There's something I've been living with for a long time, something that didn't begin with the cancer. Something the cancer came from." And that's when my entire world tilted. Because she said 7 words that shattered everything I thought I knew. "Michael, someone has been watching our family." I paused the video, stunned, breathless, trying to process the insanity of those words. Lavra wasn't paranoid. She wasn't the type to invent danger where there wasn't any, so the fact that she said it so clearly sent chills down my spine. When I pressed play again, she explained everything in a voice that shook with the fear she had been hiding from me. "It started 5 years ago," she said. "I began noticing the same man near the hospital, near the grocery store, even near Emma's school. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, until I caught him following me to the parking lot one night. I felt sick. My heart hammered so loudly I could barely hear the rest. Lavra continued, I didn't tell you because you were dealing with your job stress, and Emma was still young, and I didn't want you to worry or do something dangerous. So I went to the police. She took a shaky breath. They couldn't do much without proof, but the man, he kept appearing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch something. My wife had been dealing with a stalker for 5 years, and I had no idea. But then she said something that made my blood turn to ice. Michael, the man following us, wasn't just anyone. He used to work at the research facility where my mom was treated years ago. He was fired for stealing patient data. And that's when everything clicked. She leaned closer to the camera. My cancer wasn't random. I was part of a medical trial 15 years ago. A drug they told me was harmless may not have been. My jaw dropped. The man who followed me, he was trying to leak information about it, and I believe he wanted to warn me. Warn us, that stranger at the funeral. Was it him? Lavra wiped her face in the video, tears she tried to hide. I know this sounds unbelievable, but everything is on the USB, medical files, documents, names, dates. And Michael, she hesitated. It's possible that what happened to me wasn't just an accident? I froze. The love of my life didn't just die of cancer. She might have been poisoned by a drug. Company cover -up. My vision blurred with fury as she kept talking. But this video isn't just about exposing them. It's about protecting Emma. If something happens to me, you need to move her out of Oregon. And you need to go to the police with the files. Promise me you won't try to go after them alone. I clenched my fists. Even in death, she knew me well enough to anticipate the rage boiling in my blood. But then came the part that broke me completely. Laura's voice softened. Michael, I didn't tell you because I wanted our last years together to be filled with love, not fear. I wanted normal mornings, normal dinners, normal laughter. I wanted you to remember me that way. I didn't want you watching the door every time it opened. I didn't want you to feel helpless. I wanted you to feel safe. She took a long breath, eyes glistening. I know you would have fought for me. I know you would have burned the world down to save me. That's why I kept this from you. Because I love you too much. My heart shattered as the video ended with her whispering, "Take care of our daughter. And don't let them get away with what they did." The screen went black. I sat there in silence for nearly an hour before opening the folder on the US files. Medical reports, emails, documents from the research facility, even a recorded voicemail from an unknown number warning Lavra to stop asking questions. My hands shook with rage and grief. Everything she said was real. The company had run a drug trial that caused long-term complications that could include aggressive cancer years later. They had covered it up, destroyed records, fired the researcher who tried to expose them. The same researcher who showed up at my wife's funeral, the same man who handed me the USB the next morning. I did exactly what Lavra asked. I packed a bag for Emma, booked a flight for the two of us to Arizona, and then walked into the police department with every file, every report, every piece of evidence. And while the case is ongoing and multiple arrests have already been made, I know this, my wife didn't leave this world quietly. She didn't leave it powerless. She left it fighting, and now I'm fighting with her because the moment that stranger handed me a USB at my wife's funeral, my world didn't end. It finally began to make sense.